Let's open Visual Studio and create a new project. I will create a WPF application called K4W, which stands for Kinect for Windows. Hello World. Now we need to add some references. The Kinect for Windows DLLs can be found in the C/program files/Microsoft SDKs/Kinect folder. I have two directories here, one for the SDK and the other one for the toolkit. Chances are you have something similar, but the version numbers may be different for you. You should find the same or slightly updated files in a similar folder structure. From the 1.7 directory, go to Assemblies and add the Microsoft.kinect.dll file. From the Developer Toolkits directory, again go to Assembles and add the Microsoft.kinect.toolkit.controls, the Microsoft.kinect.toolkit, and the Microsoft.kinect.toolkit.interaction DLLs. Press OK. Now you should see an empty WPF window in the editor. It is time to add our first piece of Kinect-related functionality to this application. Let's head into the code behind first. You may wonder why I am using code behind for this sample instead of some kind of MVVM architecture. My goal is to keep these samples simple and easy to understand even for those who are not familiar with MVVM. You can easily convert these samples into MVVM if you need to do so later. First, let's add a private field to the main Windows code behind. It is of type Kinect SensorChooser, and we can just call it SensorChooser. Next, set up an event handler for the loaded event. You can also do this from XAML if you wish. Let's create our first Kinect SensorChooser object within this loaded event handler. Now, one of the best ways to learn a new API is to just experiment with it. So let's do exactly that. I will dump some information into the output window when something interesting happens. One of the interesting things that can happen is when the Kinect changed event is fired. Judging by the name, this event is called when a Kinect sensor is detected or removed. Let's see. The argument clearly has a new sensor and an old sensor property. So let's write a message into the output window to indicate whether the new sensor property is null. If the new sensor property is not null, we are going to write we have a new sensor. And if it is null, we are going to write no new sensor. The other event we can handle is the property changed event. We have two properties that this event can refer to, the Kinect property, which we already handled in the previous event handler, and the status property. So let's just write the status property out here. If the property name is status, we are going to write the value of the SensorChooser object's status property into the output window. The last thing we need to do is to get things started. Let's launch the program and see what the output is. I have the Kinect sensor connected now. Keep your eyes on the bottom of the screen in the output window. You can see that after a little initialization time, we have a new sensor and the status has changed to sensor started. Now it is time to play with some cables. First, I will disconnect the Kinect. In a few moments, we get a no new sensor message and status changes to no available sensors. I will plug the Kinect back in. The status is now initializing, and we have a new sensor. The status has been changed, so sensor started. Now I will disconnect the Kinect sensor from the power, but I will keep it connected to the computer. Watch what happens. After a little while, we have lost the sensor and the sensor not powered status has been set. Also, something you can't see is that the LED on the Kinect turns red. This is very useful if you are trying to find a problem with a new location, such as when you are setting up a Kinect exhibition at a trade show. Now it is plugged back. We have a whole new initialization cycle now, at the end of which we again have a new sensor. I have one more thing to show you. What happens if you plug in a second Kinect sensor? I happen to have another one with me, so let's try. Remember, you have to plug it into another USB hub, since two Kinect sensors would take up too much bandwidth on a single USB port. The second sensor is a Kinect for Xbox device. You can see that Microsoft displays a warning in the debug window. The Kinect sensor plugged into your computer is for use on the Xbox 360. You may continue using your Xbox 360 Kinect sensor on your computer for development purposes. Microsoft does not guarantee full compatibility for Kinect for Windows applications and the Xbox 360 Kinect sensor. So now I have two Kinects connected to my computer. If I unplug the Kinect for Windows sensor now, the Kinect SensorChooser should switch over to the new device. I just unplugged it, and indeed, we have a new sensor. So the Xbox Kinect sensor is used right now.